Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Graniterock's 2023 Tech Talk Seminar. My name is Keith Severson, and I'll be your host today. I'm joined by Robert Ellenwood, and he'll be helping us with chat and tech support. For everyone's information, we will be recording this session to grant replay access to those who are unable to attend or join us in our live event today. We'll be sending out the ever-popular exit survey in a continuing effort to make these seminars more useful to us and more useful to you in the future. As we get started, we ask everyone to please keep yourself muted and your camera off, except my speakers, of course. The chat is open, so we encourage questions or comments throughout the meeting. If you happen to have a question, please add it to the chat section, and we'll try to answer as breaks allow and get to those just as soon as possible. And we will watch for your raised hands as well. Bobby, can you see the chat? Something's in there? Hey, you can't. Let me take a quick look. There you are. That's Robert's comment. Please put anything in the chat you need. I'm thrilled to introduce our keynote speaker today, Cathrina Barros. Since last December, Cathrina has been in the role of Chief of the Office of Asphalt Pavements. She has over 35 years at Caltrans and 25 years working in materials geotechnical pavement engineering. Starting in Caltrans District 4, she promoted to District Materials Engineer, where she ran the Materials Lab, Independent Assurance Branch, and the QC/QA program. Cathrina moved to the Office of Asphalt Concrete, where she supervised the reference sample program and skid testing unit. In 2015, she acted as the AASHTO WASHTO coordinator for Caltrans and then worked in the Americans with Disabilities Act Infrastructure Program in the Office of Civil Rights. Cathrina is a registered civil engineer and a graduate of the University of Illinois at Chicago, and is exceedingly well qualified to share a view of state-level sustainability, future goals, and thoughts on mixed designs for your local use. Ms. Barros, please proceed.
Thank you, Keith. All right, we'll see if the hard part happens, right? I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Did that work? Okay, excellent. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for Graniterock for giving me an opportunity to impart some knowledge, hopefully, on the group. I am with Caltrans in the Office of Asphalt Pavements. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about our asphalt-related specification. The majority of my career has been in pavements and materials. And in 2006, I ran the Independent Assurance Program, where the staff I had particularly helped local agencies in their certification of testers and labs. And what I did realize in dealing with the local agencies is that some of the specifications that were being used were a bit of overkill because the agencies, quite frankly, didn't have the capacity to fill all the testing requirements that were needed in the specifications. And a lot of that had to do with because they just used a Caltrans spec and they thought, and I understood why, but then when it came to the actual implementation of that specification, there were certainly challenges with that. So I'll talk about our current specifications. I'm going to go back and talk a little bit about quality assurance programs and the basics because it does affect the specification you use. I'll talk about some options for specifications for local agencies. And then I'm going to change gear and just talk about the current pilot projects that we're working on at Caltrans. So in the Office of Asphalt Pavements, we basically have 4 branches. The Office of Asphalt Pavement is under the pavement program at Caltrans, and we are part of the Division of Maintenance. We are responsible for setting policy and specifications related to asphalt pavements. The 4 offices are Asphalt Concrete. Many of you that have known Kifu, he's been around quite a long time. He deals with the infamous Section 39 asphalt concrete, and he also deals with Section 92, which is more related to the binder. We also deal with recycling, so we deal with cold in place recycling, hot in place recycling. We have responsibility for Section 30, reclaimed pavement, which is where all the recycling specifications live. We also have Section 36, which is oddly named general, but the reality is that is where all our smoothness, asphalt and concrete smoothness specifications live. We also take care of pavement preservation, so this is where the MTEG, the Maintenance Technical Advisory Guide, comes from, and we control the content of the flexible pavement portion of the MTEG. Also, Section 37, bituminous seals. So this is where our chip seals, our microsurfacing, our slurry seals, where those specifications are. Section 94, asphaltic emulsions. We know what that's about. And then finally, we also deal with asphalt pavement design. So our group is responsible for highway design guidance and the implementation of CalME, which is our California Mechanistic Empirical Design Guidance and Program that we have worked on in conjunction with UCPRC. So, as I said before, there are fairly large specifications, but what are the options for local agencies, right? We look at Caltrans, we're looking at really high tonnage projects, major interstate applications, high testing requirements. And as I've seen, many locals try to use the Caltrans standards, and they're too big. So what can we do? And as I said, in being part of IA for many years, I've given presentations to local agencies just sharing some of the options that they may have for their specification development. So this is, for those that receive FHWA funding, this is a website that I really find useful. It's the FHWA Federal Aid Essentials for local public agencies. What's really great about this particular resource is there's this mini series that's a primer on many topics related that can help local public agencies, as when you receive federal funds. They talk about quality assurance requirements, they talk about DBE programs, they talk about design build, and they all have it in this super digestible little videos that that are relatively easy to follow along. And so some of the slides, actually a lot of the slides, were taken from the federal aid video that has to do with quality assurance programs. So again, I know you're like, wait, I thought we were talking about specifications, but we're getting there, and you'll see how this all ties in. But I really do think it's important to go back to the basics. So quality assurance basics. In the CFR, the Code of Federal Regulations 23 CFR 637 Part B, there's a section regarding paving materials. And if you receive federal funds, there is a big picture in your quality assurance program, and it addresses specifications, testing, agency quality assurance, contractor quality control. So in order to look at specifications, you kind of have to look at the big picture. So quality control, we know that's the contractor, but the quality assurance piece, that's the agency's acceptance function, where the agency takes responsibility for verifying and accepting the quality of materials and the construction workmanship. And I love this pyramid because it just talks about the quality assurance fundamentals, and it all starts with the joint foundation of partnering with industry and getting support in your quality assurance program. And Caltrans, of course, we don't do things simply. We do fill the joint agency and industry support role with our pavement materials and partnering committee. And this is where industry and Caltrans work together to update any asphalt related specifications to ensure that the product that comes out of the department is street ready, something that can be bid and that industry already has buy-off on. So we work together to update our specifications. And I encourage local agencies to partner with their industry folks as well. I mean, because like any partnership, some days are most certainly better than others. But when we have an ultimate goal to get a better product, we do get a better product. So the next tier is the QAP program. Now, Caltrans as a DOT, we do need a QAP program approved by FHWA. And we have an extensive program that involves IA, our joint training and certification program that we do at METS, and our chapter, construction acceptance chapter in the construction manual. This is all part of Caltrans QAP program. So from the CFR, these are the 6 basic items that need to be in a QAP program. Not surprisingly, quality control, agency acceptance, independent assurance, and that's make sure, and with independent assurance, that there's a dispute resolution process, that your labs are accredited, that your personnel is accredited. And I'm just touching on this so we understand what's also part of that QAP program, because this is where the discussion on the potential latitude a local agency can have in their specifications starts to become apparent. So if a local agency is using federal dollars on a national highway system project, they must have an FHWA approved QAP. We all know federal money doesn't, comes with a bunch of strings, and this is one of the requirements that's stated in the CFR. Now, local assistance at Caltrans has a great website that discusses quality assurance program options for smaller local agencies. But here's the nutshell of it. And this is all from the local assistance procedures manual. So if you're on the national highway system and you're on the state highway system, okay, a local public agency must use the Caltrans Quality Assurance Program and use Caltrans plans and specs. So that's easy, relatively easy. But if you're off the state highway system and you're on the national highway system, then a local public agency has the latitude to use Caltrans plans and specs or the Green Book plans and specs. And, for those that know, traditionally in the North, agencies use Caltrans plans and specs, and traditionally in Southern California, they use Green Book plans and specs. Now, if you are off the state highway system and you are off the national highway system, a local public agency may develop their own QA program that complies with FHWA. Now, of course, you're receiving federal funds, so you still have to consider those specifications that require you to have a QAP, et cetera, et cetera. All right. And as I said before, in the local assistance website, there is a Caltrans Quality Assurance Program manual that provides guidance to the local public agencies on how to put together a QAP. All right. So what the CFR says is, if you're a local agency and you're not on the national highway system with federal aid, there are no specific QA program requirements. And I said in the last slide, if you're off the NHS, but you're on the SHS, you have to use Caltrans or Green Book. All at this point, the FHWA is concerned about is ensuring that there is adequate supervision and inspection of your materials. And you should have a program that's acceptable to the state DOT. And I do know in our local assistance program, they do review the QAPs for local agencies and include the 6 elements. So, but again, now going back to the specifications, what does this mean? This means at this point, this is where the latitude of your QA specification comes into play. All right, so the QA specifications, you're, like I said, off the state highway system, off the national highway system. You have latitude. You could use Caltrans, you could use Green Book, you could use International Slurry Seal Association, pavement preservation. There's a lot of specifications out there that are available for local agencies to use as a model or a template. And I do also know from Graniterock, you have Frank Rankador. I see Frank frequently. He is at every single technological event I'm at. So he is really up to date as to what's going on out there in the pavement world. And so there really are several options to look at when you're looking at specifications, that doesn't have to be Caltrans. So, and I know back in, I want to say December at that Tech Talk, Brandon really dove deep into the hot mix asphalt specification for local governments. And these slides are from John Harvey of CCPIC and UCPRC. Again, this is an organization that is specifically focused towards helping cities and counties improve their payment by giving them a great amount of resources and tools to help out. And these are just some basic slides about who's involved, the university partners, so Cal State Chico, Long Beach, San Luis Obispo. So a lot of great partnerships here. Now, this is the slide that I know you've seen before, but it's a great resource. And this is where the model specifications are located in this particular segment of it. And I did a little bit of a blow up here. They have a model spec that's in Green Book format. HMA local governments, concrete specs, super paved specs. So please take advantage of this resource. It really has some great information. So I'm going to completely switch gears at this point, but that is my discussion on where you can find some latitude in your specifications, what the requirements are, where you have some wiggle room. And I know it's a lot of information, but I guess the main message I'm trying to share here is you don't have to just use Caltrans. So there are other options, and there's some good specification templates now that weren't there before. All right, so completely switching gears, and now I'm going to talk about what's going on currently in the Caltrans Office of Asphalt Pavements and the pilot projects that we're working on in order to help develop these specifications we currently have. As I said, these are the specifications that we are responsible for. In the PMPC, when we do have changes to these specifications, we have working groups that deal with that develop non-standard special provisions to help implement some of these pilot projects. So these are some of the current working group products that are going on. And at some point, the eventual outcome is to have some language addressing all of these pilots in our new specification. So one of our first pilot projects is recycled asphalt shingles, basically taking, roof shingles and putting them in pavement. Many states have recycled asphalt shingles specifications. We are still working on getting that language in our specification. We do have one project that was done in El Dorado County with a full report and evaluation by UCPRC. That's available on their website, or I'm happy to share that report. We also have one RAS-RAB project going on in District 10, which is in the Stockton area. So we are looking to find a way to introduce or give the designer an option to use some recycled asphalt shingle material in the pavement. The next pilot we're looking at is 10% RAP in RHMA. As I'm sure everybody knows, we at Caltrans, we use a great deal of rubberized hot mix asphalts. We have basically 35% usage in the state. We are now, since we are looking at RAP and recycling asphalt pavement, how much RAP can we put in RHMA? We're starting with 10%. We have about 7 pilot projects going on right now. So this is something we're excited about, another way to recycle in one of our biggest in RHMA.
Cathrina, can I interrupt you just a
Yep,
minute?
sure.
Back on the shingles,
Yep.
Is there a percentage for that as well?
We're looking at 3%. So yeah, so I think that's part of the spec development, but yeah, about 3%.
All right.
Yep.
Since I interrupted you,
Yep.
just for those of you that have just joined most recently, you're welcome to put your questions into chat. We'll watch for raised hands as well. And please proceed. Thank you. You're doing great.
Okay, I was wondering if I had enough time. I'm like, how's my timing? Okay, good, good, thank you. Okay, and so this is our big one, 40% wrap in hot mix asphalt. Currently, our specification allows up to 25%. We have traditional use of 15% because the 25% does require some extra testing and a grade bump and that sort of thing. But, you know, how can we use more? So we have 5 pilot projects that are going on in various stages of data evaluation. Testing is being done by our METS group and UCPRC. We are looking and testing at basically 25%, 30%, 35%, 40%. And it is quite extensive, but we are learning quite a lot about how we're going to implement higher percentages of wrap in our hot mix asphalt. And, you know, on this slide, it talks about this 1 day of production or 4,000 feet. That's basically our ideal pilot quantity. So we have control, and then we want a pilot section, basically 4,000 feet or a day of production. This is another pilot project we're going through. This one's almost done. There should be a report coming out soon. This is something that was industry driven, in the sense of, you know, normally we do our grading before production. And so this is actually the gradation on the final product. So after we determine the asphalt binder, then we do the gradation on the aggregate. There were 16 projects that used the the NSSP for post-plant gradation. And like I said before, we're pretty close to being done on this one. We have a lot of data on it, and we are looking for a final report in the next few months regarding this particular pilot project. Another pilot we're doing is in-place recycling, cold central plant recycling. This differs from current in-place recycling because mobile plant, for lack of a better term, is set up closer to the job site. So you can mill, instead of having a big recycling train, you can mill up the existing pavement, you truck that material to the cold central plant, and the recycling happens there, and then it gets trucked back to the job site and placed. So we're hoping to save, you know, greenhouse gas emissions in the sense of there's not a larger train. It saves on trucking costs. And again, recycling, you save on virgin material. So we have 4 pilot projects coming up this year looking at this particular recycling method. I've got a couple more slides. Sorry.
Okay, I'll stop you there for a minute.
Okay.
Where are those pilot projects?
Oh, I'm sorry, in Fresno.
Plants?
Yeah,
Fresno?
there's one in Fresno and there's one planned for San Bernardino. With the districts, and I guess maybe this is my little plug too, I always say we do have funding available for pilot projects. So if there's a contractor that, there's some rules that go along with the money, right? But if there's some recommendations that a contractor may have saying, hey, I want to try this project or this product out on a project I'm working on, we are always open to that discussion. We may not always say yes, but we'll talk about it.
All right, good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Statistical pay factor is something we're looking at. Basically, it's paying on the statistical bell curve. So ultimately, if we get a tighter curve, this can incentivize higher payment for the contractor. So we have quite a few pilot projects going on with that. We're looking at fibers in HMA. This is something driven by Caltrans. We want to look at it as improving fatigue resistance and durability for our thin lift overlays. So we have about 3 or 4 pilots with fibers. And then last but not least, because we are looking at more sustainable ways to be sustainable in the department, you know, there are companies that use wrap and chip seals and slurry seals. They're mostly in Southern California, but is there a way to put more wrap in our chip and in our slurry? Because obviously, again, you save GHGs, you save virgin material. So we have one pilot next fiscal year, and we're going to form a group under the preservation subtask group to look at using wrap and slurry, wrap and chip and slurry. Okay, and I knew it was a lot of slides, but that is what I have for everybody.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much.
Good.
And I will ask the group again, if you've got some questions, please either raise your hand or put something in chat. And we have got this world-class expert here to answer these questions for us. So how about some links to essential links? Where could this group, if they didn't write it all down, where can they go to get some more additional information in these topics?
So actually the Caltrans website you can link to. I mean, I'm happy to, I can share them in the chat and that kind of thing as well. But our Office of Asphalt Pavement website has all the specifications, everything you need, you know, if you want to model or look at what we're doing. Specifically with the Pavement Materials Partnering Committee, they have their own website too. So they talk about all the pilot projects we're working on. We have a tracker of the specific projects where they're located, the notes from the meetings. So just I can put those in the chat, you know, when other people are talking, and I can put the CCPIC link in there too, because there is a lot of good information. Like anything, it's just
it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's just like knowing where it is. That's all.
Yeah, that's great stuff. So in a nutshell and sort of in plain speak, can you talk about, do a recap for me of what you just told us?
Okay, so Caltrans is working on a lot of great things. We have some great specifications. There are opportunities though, because like I said, when you look at our Section 39 super pave spec, it's huge. If you're a local public agency, you have smaller jobs, there really are opportunities for you to not have to do the big specification. Now, granted, it's basically if you have a local road, you're not receiving federal funds, you're off the state highway system, you're off the national highway system. Look at, you know, you are not bound to our specifications. Look at other agencies, you know, develop specifications that work for your applications and your needs. And more local agencies are doing it, but you can do it now. And so just please don't feel like you have to throw in Section 39 if you're paving a cul-de-sac. You don't. So there are options. And at some point, maybe there's a follow-up conversation as to what local, and maybe there's a session where we talk to different local agencies, what specs work for them, information sharing amongst the locals to talk about, what specs work. But I guess maybe that's my main message. Don't, just because we do it doesn't mean, you have to do it in a lot of your applications. And also there are a lot of really great sustainable practices we're looking at, and we'll be happy to share the data when we get more of it. So 2 takeaways.
Good. Those were well put. Thank you. Not to put you on the spot, but just out of just curiosity, are there some local agencies that really do find creative and progressive solutions? Are there some that you're impressed with?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, another person I see at all these technicals conferences is City of San Jose. I mean, Frank's all over it. He does a lot of, they do quite a bit of rubber. They're looking at implementing their own initial version of balanced mix design. So he is, he didn't pay me to say this, and I don't even know if he's on the call, but I find his interest in what's happening in the world of pavement quite impressive. He's really exposing himself to a lot of good technologies, and hopefully, exposing his, the city to those things and making use of it. So
yeah. So you touched on rubber. You want to say a few things about rubber?
Hot. Has to be hot to let it be hot. I obviously rubber for us, the usage will not reduce. I mean, if anything, maybe there are ways to use it. Right now, it's mainly on our surface courses. So is there a way that we can incorporate it in our lower layers? Maybe. That's something we're kind of looking at. Now, I suppose I'm going to say the one thing I am going to say about rubber is there is a balance between all these technologies. So your rubber use can affect your recycling ability, not the recycling of the rubber, but actually the use of cold in place recycling. So that's the interesting challenge in my particular office, because I got 4 different asphalt related groups, and some people want to use more warm mix, some people want to use more rubber, some people want to use more recycling things. And what I like about my job, to be honest, is I have to think about the balance between all the technologies. So I do like rubber, but I also know it affects our ability to cold in place recycle. So that is
That's
that is
interesting.
the situation.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
it is interesting.
Interesting.
Mhm.
So this is really easy, you guys. I can ask questions all day. So if I can do it, you guys can do it. So please don't hesitate. Raise your hand or put something in the chat if you'd like. How about open grade mix in play for the future?
It is funny. We do realize that the open grade mixes and our design methodology needs to be looked at again. I think part of the issue with with our payment materials partner committee, we have bin lists, and open graded friction course is on the bin list as a potential work item, but it keeps getting bumped because there's other, there's new hot things that come up. And I think with open graded friction course, we know there's improvements, we know there's things that can be done. I just think, with like a lot of us, it's a resource issue, right? I mean, I got 8 people on my staff, and that's who I got. So we do know that it's time to revisit it. It's just where it falls, in the priority list, and that is just the truth of it. I mean, we do know it needs to be looked at. So, yeah.
Well, we've asked you to commit to this amount of time.
Okay.
If you've got another couple of minutes, I can ask you some more questions, or if you need to leave
No,
right
no,
now,
I'm
I'll let you go.
whatever you need me. I'm going to
So
listen to the rest of
since
the
you brought up your
presentation.
staff, why don't you talk about your staff and structure for a little bit? Is there somebody you'd like to talk about?
So for the most part, anyone on the PMPC, um, any section 39 specification, so that's going to be warm mix, rubber, hot mix. Key Fu is who I call my professor historian, right? He's been around a long time. He's a great partner with industry. He knows a lot of information, but I only have one key. And so what concerns me is, as myself, like, we're all getting at that retirement age, and I dread the day that Key's gonna say, Cathrina, I'm done. So I think really the challenge with my staff right now is to just get that succession planning in place and just trying to find the next Key Fu. And Sri Holakati, he's pavement preservation. He's been around a long time. He's another historian, and we're all sorry, not me. Well, almost, but like early 60s, right? It's getting to be that point where that's kind of my challenge right now, just trying to being able to do knowledge transfer and find that and find those people. Now, what is good is I have some great young and up and comers, on my staff, and they're not registered engineers yet, but they have a lot of great potential. They have a great background, masters, PhDs, and everything. What I'm trying to help them with is, this is how Caltrans does business. This is how we partner with industry. This is how we play in the sandbox together. And that, I think, is that's the part I'm really trying to help, because just in all my years, I've just realized when I do partner with industry and when I do have great contacts with them, it really does make things easier. And for me personally, it hasn't been too contentious, because I'm like, tell me what you think. And sometimes they get mad, and that's okay. I don't take it personally, right? I
Right.
mean, we're
Good.
here to try to make it better. And so that's what I'm hoping to help with some of the newer folks there,
Yeah.
not to have that narrow focused mindset of, well, I know it because I went to so and so, such and such, and I've got this, just having that ability to be open-minded and to listen to everyone's opinion, especially the ones that have been doing it. I mean, those are the guys, sorry, those are what I call, like, the frontline people, right?
Yeah.
They see
Yeah.
it every day.
And
So
so, thank you. Your mention of partnering with industry and today's efforts in particular. Just really greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. I have got a brave soul that has asked a question in
Yeah,
chat. Does
yeah.
Caltrans have any plans to put out additional guidelines or specs on using warm mix? We have been seeing frequent issues with surface stretch marks cracking on warm mix after placement. Looks like when somebody rolls over a overrolls a hot mix. Has Caltrans had similar issues, and if so, how do you address those? Is this just an issue with roller operators not being used to working with those new warm mixes?
Yeah, there's a lot in there, and I'm going to say yes, I do believe, so in 2006, when I started with independent assurance, I was new to Translab, and my boss at the time, Terry Brissett, said, there's this warm mix stuff. Cathrina, you work on bringing it into Caltrans. So I knew a thing or two about warm mix. Now, right now, the way warm mix is in the specifications, and I'm sure Daniel's aware of this as well, it just says it's the contractor option. So there's not much guidance outside of that. And it's interesting because there's hey, I work for the state of California. There's legislation floating around about warm mix use and that kind of thing. So, we did recently poll our districts as to their level of warm mix use. What it seems is the districts in the cold, surprise, surprise, the districts in the colder regions, District 1 or District 4 that does a lot of night paving with rubber, they really like warm mix, a chemical warm mix as a compaction aid for their projects. So we don't have any additional guidelines or specs on using warm mix outside of what's currently there. Do I think we have a need to revisit it? Yes. I mean, it's great to have that comment because I personally haven't heard problems, quote unquote, problems with our current Caltrans guidance. So I'd love to have further conversations on the problems people are seeing and ways that we can fix it or address it or help it become more successful, because I do think warm mix is a good tool. But honestly, this is the first time I've particularly heard of this. So it'd be great to have more conversations and seeing what we can do.
So thank you so much for that question. Anybody else have questions, please get in here and ask. You've been a wealth of information thus far. I've got one more question just from my vantage point. If you want to sort of go up to a high level, what do you see as the future trends? What do you think can really make a difference? And I know that there's a balance in everything we see. There's a balance of political will, finance, technology. Talk about kind of your vision of future sustainability improvements.
Well, I think boy, so much going on in my brain right now. I do think we have to move away from our current super pave mix design because we can't account for all these potential recycled or sustainable additives that we can put in our pavement. We are looking at balanced mix design because we realize that the more wrap we put in, the more RAS we put in, the more whatever we put in, because we've even done some really brief pilots that I haven't talked about too much using like recycled plastic in the binder and that kind of thing. So we know that it's coming. We understand that there are many ways we can, help divert materials from the landfills. But SuperPave isn't going to do it for us. We are looking at balanced mix design. We don't know yet how that's going to go. I don't see us right away going to full performance specifications. I don't think that's going to happen. There's going to be some hybrid thing, but I think we have to look at that in order for us to become more and more sustainable. Now, another thing we're looking at is this whole EPD issue. Obviously, the state, how does the cradle to gate influence, our decision-making process? Right now, our highway, our design guidance doesn't specifically address that. I think at some point, we're going to have to give instructions to the designer to, okay, look at the environmental impacts of the production of the whatever you're going to do, and how that's going to play out in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. We're not there yet. We're not even close to being there yet, but right. I see that coming too. Yeah.
Great. Good. I so appreciate your thoughts. Okay, folks, we have kept her long enough. Anybody else have another question out there? Last chance, Texaco. Absolutely wealth of information. I hope you guys gained as much as we did here. Again, we've got this recorded. I cannot thank you enough. Absolutely wonderful and really informative. So thank you so much. And we are better for your time today. Thank you.
And I'll put the links in the chat. I like I said, I do want to listen. I do want to listen to the rest of the program. Good. So I'll
hang in.
Throw some information.
So we're going to move to concrete next.